Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rubab Zahra. I am lecturer in the Department of Emerging Allied Health Technologies, Faculty of Allied Health Science, Indian University of Lahore. Today, my topic is cardiac system. The purpose of this topic is to understand the cardiac system, heart. Before we talk about the cardiac system, we will talk about the circulatory system. The blood circulatory system is a system of the organs that includes heart, blood vessels, and blood, which is circulated throughout the entire body of humans or others, vertebra. It includes the cardiovascular systems or vascular systems that consist of the heart and blood vessels. The circulatory systems has two divisions, a systemic circulation or a pulmonary circulation. Some sources use the term cardiovascular system and vascular system interchangeably with the circulatory system. Now we talk about the cardiac system. What is cardiac system? The heart is one of the body's most essential organ. The human heart pumps blood into the arteries that carry oxygen and nutrients to all the tissues of the body. The heart located in the center of the chest. Heart is one of the most essential organ in the body. The human heart pumps the blood into the arteries, which carry oxygen, nutrients to all the tissues of the body. The cardiovascular system is sometimes the blood vascular or simply the circulatory system. It consists of the heart, which is a muscular pumping device. Now, heart is a pumping device and closed systems. Heart is a pumping device which pumps the blood into the arteries that carry oxygen and nutrients to all the tissues of the body of the heart. External and internal structures of the heart. Heart is made up of three layers: endocardium, myocardium, epicardium. The heart wall is made up of three layers of the inner endocardium, middle is myocardium, and outer is the epicardium. These are surrounded by a double membrane sacs called a pericardium. The innermost layer of the heart is called the endocardium. So heart is made up of three layers: endocardium, myocardium, and epicardium. Endocardium is the inner layer, myocardium is the middle layer, and outer is the epicardium. These are surrounded by a membrane which is called pericardiums. Innermost layer of the heart is called the endocardium. What is pericardium? Pericardium is the fluid-filled sac that surrounded the heart and proximal end of aorta, vena cava, and pulmonary artery. Pericardium is the fluid-filled sac that surround the heart and aorta, vena cava, and proximal end of aorta, vena cava, and pulmonary artery. It can be divided into three layers: the fibrous pericardium, parietal pericardium, and the visceral pericardium. The parietal and visceral pericardium together form the serous pericardium. The two layers of the serous pericardium are continuous with each other. Now we talk about the positions of the heart and the appearance of the heart. Heart is a hollow muscular organ, which is made up of involuntary cardiac muscles, roughly the size of one fist. And the average weight in male is 300 grams and in female is 250 grams. It's a reddish brown in color and somewhat conical in shapes. It's a hollow organ, hollow muscular organs made up of involuntary muscles, or weight 300 grams in male and female in 250 grams. Average weight, now it is a reddish brown in color and somewhat conical in shape, located almost in the middle of the thoracic cavity, close to its front wall and between the lungs. Its border base faces upward and backward, whereas the narrow apex is directed downward, forward, and slightly to the left. Heart is located almost in the middle of the thoracic cavity, close to its front of wall and between the lung. Now we talk about the chambers of the heart, surfaces and the hearts, and the borders of the heart. The heart has 5 surfaces: base, which is posterior, diaphragmatic, inferior, sternocostal, interior, and the left pulmonary surface, right pulmonary surface. Diaphragmatic inferior, interior sternocostal, and left and right pulmonary surfaces. Now, borders of the heart. Separating the surfaces of the heart are its borders. There are four main borders of the heart: right borders, right atrium, inferior border, left ventricle, and right ventricle. And left border, left ventricles, and some of the left atrium, and superior border, right atrium, and left atrium, and the great vessels. Chambers of the heart. The heart has four chambers: atria, left and right, atria, superior surface, ventricle, left and right, ventricle. Vena cava, pulmonary trunk, and aorta. Aorta and vena cava. The vena cava is the large vein that returns the blood from the body back to the heart. Vena cava is a large vein that returns the blood from the body back to the heart. And the aorta is the large artery that carries blood from the heart to the body. Pulmonary trunk. The pulmonary trunk is a major vessels of the human heart that carry. The pulmonary trunk is the major vessels of the human heart that originates from right ventricle. Pulmonary trunk is a major vessel of the human heart that originates from the right ventricle. It originates from right ventricles, then it branches into the right and left pulmonary artery, which leads to the lung. Functions of pulmonary trunk. The functions of these vessels is to transmit oxygen depleted carbon dioxide rich blood from the right ventricle to the lungs. Function of this vessel is to transmit deoxygenated blood from right ventricle to the lungs. In the lungs, the blood becomes purified and oxygenated again. It then travels back to the left side of the heart to distribute it throughout the body. Function of the vessel is to transmit deoxygenated blood from right ventricle to lung. Then in the lung, blood become oxygenated and return to the it then return to the back to the left side of the heart and to be distributed throughout the body. Function of vena cava. The vena cava is, inferior vena cava is a vein. It carries deoxygenated blood from the lower half of the body to the right atrium of the heart. Inferior vena cava is a vein which carries deoxygenated blood from lower half of the body to the right atrium of the heart. The corresponding veins that carries deoxygenated blood from the upper half of body is the superior vena cava. Types of vena cava: superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. The main difference between superior and inferior vena cava is that the superior vena cava drain blood from the upper part of the body, while inferior vena cava drain blood from the lower part of the body. Now we talk about the internal features of the heart. The heart has four chambers: two atria, two ventricles. Right atrium receive oxygen poor blood from the body. Right atrium receive deoxygenated blood from the body and pump to the right ventricle. Then right ventricle pump the oxygen poor blood to the lungs. The left atrium receive deoxygenated blood, the left atrium receive oxygen rich blood from the lungs and it pump to the left ventricles. The left ventricle pumps the oxygen rich blood to the body. Right atrium receive deoxygenated blood from the body and pump to the right ventricle. Then right ventricle pumps this deoxygenated blood to the lungs. Left atrium receive oxygenated blood from the lungs and pump into the left ventricle. Left ventricle pumps the oxygen-rich blood, oxygenated blood to the body. Cardiac septum. A muscular tissues, the cardiac septum, divided the heart into right and left side. Each side of the heart has an upper chamber are atriums and a larger lower chamber are ventricles. A muscular tissue, the cardiac septum, which divided the heart into right and left side. Each side of the heart has an upper chamber or atrium and the lower side and the larger lower chamber are a ventricle. The two sides of the heart have a different functions, but they work together to shuttle the blood to all part of the body. Valves. The heart has four valves that open to let a blood flow when the heart contracts. Each valve has a set of flaps called cusps or leaflets. The valve allows the blood to flow in only one direction, and a healthy valve closely tied to stop the blood flow from flowing backwards. A stethoscope can detect the sounds of the heart, valves opening and closing. How does blood flow through the heart? The right atrium, blood flow from the heart and lungs in 4 steps. The right atrium receive deoxygenated blood from the body and pump to the right ventricular through a which we have tricuspid valve. Tricuspid valve, and the right ventricle pumps the deoxygenated blood to the lung through the pulmonary valves. The left atrium receives oxygen-rich blood from the lungs and pump to the left ventricle through a which we have mitral valve. And the left ventricle pumps the oxygen-rich blood through the aortic valve and to the rest of the body. This is the circulation of the blood flow through the heart. Right atrium receives deoxygenated blood, which is pumped to the right ventricle through the tricuspid valve. Then right ventricle pumps the oxygenated poor blood to the lungs through the pulmonary valve. Left atrium receives oxygen-rich blood, oxygenated blood from the lungs and pump to the left ventricle through a mitral valve, which is also called bicuspid valve. The left ventricle pumps the oxygenated rich blood through the aortic valves and to the rest of the aortic valve out to the rest of the body. Pacemaker. Pacemaker, the rate at which heartbeat is controlled by electrical impulses mediated by the involuntary or autonomic nervous system. Pacemaker is also called, the SI node is also called the pacemaker. The rate at which heartbeat is controlled by electrical impulses mediated by involuntary or autonomic nervous system. One nerve coming from the brain speed up the heartbeat while another it slow down. The nerve terminate in a group of cells located in the wall of right atrium called the sinus node or pacemaker. Now we talk about the cardiac conduction systems. The impulse conduction system of the heart consists of four structures: SI nodes, the sinoatrial nodes, which generate the impulses to contract the upper hearts. Then it give the signals to the AV nodes, atrioventricular node. What does the AV node do? The AV nodes control the passage of the heart's electrical signals from the atria to the ventricle after an electrical impulses is generated by the sinus node located at the top of right atrium. It's spread across the atria, causing these chambers of the heart to contract. SI node is also called the pacemaker of the heart. Then AV bundles, atrioventricular bundle, AV bundle. The bundle of His is a part of the bundle of His is the part of the electrical septum of the heart. It is collection of the cells that carry electrical signals from AV node to the bundle of branches. The electrical system that control the heartbeat is made up of several parts that signal the heart muscle contracts. Purkinje fibers. Now we talk about Purkinje fibers. The Purkinje fibers are specialized conducting fibers composed of electrical excitable cells. They are large, the cardiomyocytes with fewer myofibrils and many mitochondria. They conduct cardiac action potential more quickly and efficiently than any other cell of the heart. The cardiac muscle fiber that composes these structures are specialized for impulses conduction that send signals to the heart muscles, causing it to contract. Now we talk about the blood supply of the heart. The endocardium and subendocardial tissues receive oxygen and nutrients by diffusions in microvasculature directly from the chambers of the heart. The remainder is supplied by the coronary vasculatures, which is primarily embedded in the pericardia fat on the surfaces of the heart and supplies predominantly by the epicardium, the left coronary artery and the right coronary artery. Left coronary artery arises from the proximal aspects of the aortic sinuses. Superior are the aortic valves in the ascending aorta, supplies blood flow to the left coronary artery, supplies blood flow to the left atrium, left ventricles, majority of it, right ventricle, smaller portion of it, and the interventricular system. Right coronary artery arises from the proximal aspects of the aortic sinuses superior to the aortic valves in the ascending aorta. So blood supply of heart is left coronary artery and right coronary artery. Left coronary artery supplies to the left atrium, left ventricles. right ventricle, interventricle septums, and right coronary artery arises from the proximal aspects of aortic sinuses, superior and the aortic valves in the ascending aorta. Now we talk about the blood supply of the heart flow chart. Superior and inferior vena cava, then blood into the right atriums, from right atrium blood through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricles, from right ventricles to pulmonary valves into the left, into the lungs, from then in left atrium receive the blood in and through the bicuspid valve into the left ventricles, and then aorta, and then to the rest of the body.